Alhamdulillah, indeed all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him and we seek His help and forgiveness. We ask refuge in Allah from the evil of our nafs and our wrongdoings. He whom Allah guides, no one can misguide. And he whom Allah misguides, no one can guide. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I bear witness that there is no God except Allah, alone with no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. For our beloved Shaykh and for all of our Musallis, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This morning we woke up to a message that Maulana Aslam had sent into one of our groups about an auntie who had just passed away last night. Her name was Auntie Sharifa. At first I didn't know who this auntie was, but it was explained to me that to a gala dinner ago in 2019, I actually had an interaction with this auntie. I picked her up to bring her along to one of the gala dinners. And I distinctly remember my experience with her. She was a lovely lady. She reminded me of my grandmother. It was explained to me that Auntie Sharifa had a relationship with the Sultan Rao Center for about 12 years. And in that time, she had received cataract operations for both her eyes. She had assistance with rental and with groceries. But beyond just being a recipient of assistance from the Sultan Rao Center, she also built a strong relationship with those from the center itself. So quite a number of people were quite heartbroken at the loss. And that leads me to the topic of today's discussion. The Shaykh always reminds us that or encourages us to read the translation of the Quran so that we can understand what it is that Allah is trying to say to us. So I open up with a piece from Surah Al-Hadid from verse 10 to 18. Allah says what means. And why should you not spend in the cause of Allah? While Allah is the sole inheritor of the heavens and the earth. Those of you who donated and fought before the victory over Makkah are unparalleled. They are far greater in rank than those who donated and fought afterwards. Yet, Allah has promised each a fine reward. And Allah is all aware of what you do. Who is it that will lend to Allah a good loan, which Allah will multiply many times over for them, and they will have an honorable reward? On that day you will see the believing men and women with their lights shining ahead of them, and on their right. And they will be told, today you have good news of gardens under which rivers flow, for you to stay in forever. This is truly the ultimate triumph. On that day, the hypocrite men and women will beg the believers, wait for us, so that we may share in your life. You will be sent mockingly to them. Go back to the world and seek a light there. And a separating wall with a gate will be erected between them. On the near side will be grace, and on the far side will be torment. The tormented will cry out to the grace, were we not with you? They will reply, yes, you were. But you chose to be tempted by hypocrisy. You eagerly awaited our demise, doubted in the truth, and were deluded by false hopes, until Allah's decree of your death came to pass. And so the chief deceiver deceived you about Allah. So today, no ransom will be accepted from you, nor from the disbelievers. Your home is the fire. It is the only fitting place for you. What an evil destination. Has the time not yet come for believers' hearts to be humbled at the remembrance of Allah and what has been revealed of the truth, and not be like those who were given the scripture before? Those who were spoiled for so long that their hearts became hardened, and many of them are still rebellious. Know that Allah divides the earth after its death. We have certainly made the signs clear for you, so perhaps you will understand. Indeed, those men and women who give charity and lend to Allah a good loan will have it multiplied for them, and they will have an honorable reward. There are so many deep and powerful reminders in these few verses, but what I would like to draw attention to is the second and last verse, in which Allah speaks about those who would lend to Allah alone. Ayahs like this have been mentioned in several other parts of the Quran. And there's also a hadith that mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends every night to the nearest heaven when the last third of the night remains and says, who would give a loan to he who is neither poor nor unjust? Isn't that a strange statement? How do we, the slaves and the servants of Allah, who admittedly or not, depend entirely on Him, the all-powerful, the sustainer, the owner of endless bounty, the one with no beginning and no end, the self-subsisting, the one who never sleeps, the creator, the owner of the heavens and the earth, the one who has kept our hearts beating in our chest since the time we were nurtured in the wombs of our mother, the one who takes souls every night in our sleep and returns those whom He wills and keeps those whom He wills. All of us are so busy spending on ourselves and spending on our families. But what about spending on the deen of Allah? We want victory for Muslims. We want Muslim countries to flourish. We want poverty and chaos to end. But who is spending in these causes? How many times do we really think about spending on those in need, and for how long? How many times do we think about spending on ourselves, and for how long? But when it comes to the spending in the way of Allah, we keep bringing up this expense and that expense. Or we say, I need to save for this, or I need to save for that. Oh, my dear brothers, we don't even know if we're going to survive the rest of this day. The idea of a loan to Allah is not for Allah. It's for us. Allah is playing on our understanding of a loan. That instead of it just being money that's given away, a loan implies a transaction. And that at an appointed time, it will be paid back to us in far greater weight. And who better to enter into a transaction like that than with Allah the Sustainer? Nothing that we give to Allah is ever lost. Every bit is kept in our account. And in due time we will see the fruits of our sacrifice. And in this month of Ramadan, the reward of these transactions can be multiplied 70 times over. But what does that 70 mean to the owner of limitless bounty? 70 is just a number for us to comprehend. But in the endless and limitless power of Allah, that 70 may be far beyond our comprehension. Now, if the transaction is so powerful, what is it that keeps us from giving? What is it that makes us hesitate to only give the bare minimum? To answer that, let's change the question. What is it that would drive us to sacrifice everything we have for the benefit of someone else? The way that a mother would go to sleep hungry so that her children can sleep with full bellies. Or a father who goes to work every day until the sweat drips from his brow to ensure that his family have a home to come to and a bed to sleep in every night. The answer is simple. It's love. But how can you love someone that you don't know? I saw a video in one of the WhatsApp groups a few days ago. I couldn't understand the language, but the caption on the video said that this young boy, who looked like he was about 9 or 10 years old, was crying because he had just learned for the first time that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had passed away. what left this physical realm. And this young boy is crying and sobbing in tears. He could only be crying in that way because he knows Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for what he has done. The same applies to us. The people we love them because we know who they really are. We know their struggles, we know their stories. So let me give you a few examples. At the Sultan Bahar Center, one of the projects that we run is a sandwich project for schools in and around Mayfair. And one of the schools that we send sandwiches to every day is Fordsburg Primary. A few weeks ago, we were fortunate enough to go to the school and we were going to hand out the sandwiches ourselves. And the lady who normally hands out the sandwiches, her name was Pinky. Pinky and I started having a conversation, and she talks to me about where she comes from. Pinky used to live in Braamfontein, and not long ago she moved to a little section of Soweto. And she starts describing the conditions that the people live in this area. She talks about how parents are often spending the entire day completely drunk or high, while their small children are left to fend for themselves on the streets. She speaks about how children or grandchildren abuse their grandparents to take their grant money so that they can go and feed their substance abuse. She talks about elderly that have no support whatsoever, no family to take care of them, who are sickly and left in a shack. And when she comes to come and assist them and clean them, it's been left so still for so long that there are rats that are running around inside the shack itself. She speaks about children. She tells me a story in particular of a 16-year-old boy who in the space of 2 months lost both his mother and father to COVID-19. And he has 2 little siblings who are probably about 8 or 9 years old. And he is now trying to take care of them. In an environment like that, would you blame a young man like that to turn to all the wrong things to try and find a way to take care of him and his family, him and his 2 siblings? Just a week ago, we actually visited this area in Soweto and we went to go and do a meal distribution. There's probably about 100 people that were present, but at the time, with the 100 people that were there was also hustle and bustle that was happening in the streets. And I noticed this little boy who's about 10 years old. He's got his sister's hand, who's probably about 3 or 4. He comes across the street, comes to take a little bucket of soup for his sister, moves over to get a loaf of bread. And what was so interesting was in this hustle and bustle, this little boy was not concerned with anything else around him other than making sure that he was going to get something for his little sister to eat. And he holds the food in his left hand and he takes his sister by the right hand, and I watch him cross the road in the middle of all this and he just disappears. What if that poor child was one of our kids? We care for him more than. Make another example. Kasim is a new patient at our dialysis clinic. He's been there for about 2 weeks now. About a week ago, his sister came to visit us at the office and discuss the procedure of the program that he was doing. And she starts telling his story. She tells us that Kasim was a very healthy and fit young man. He used to go to the gym very regularly when he was growing up. One day he forgot his sandals when he went to the shower at the gym. Showered and went home. A few days later, the family noticed that there's something wrong underneath Kasim's feet, or one of his feet. Little did he know that he had actually picked up gangrene while he was there in the gym. They rush him to the doctor. The doctor tells him that unfortunately at the state that it's at already, they need to cut off one toe and a section underneath the foot. A little while after that, they find out that the gangrene has gone too far and they now need to amputate the leg above the knee. Kasim is now no longer working. He's trying to find a job, but everywhere he goes, he keeps being rejected. Then, a few months ago, I think it was in November last year, Kasim has heart failure. Now, 52% of his heart function is no longer working the way that it's supposed to. His heart is not pumping blood the way that it's supposed to. And then soon after that, Kasim learns that his kidneys are now failing. And he now needs dialysis treatment. Kasim didn't ask for any of these ailments. They were given to him. And as a result of that, he can't find work anywhere. His sister is taking care of him. What if Kasim was one of our siblings? What if Kasim was our brother? What if Kasim was our father? Would we have cared more for him then? Another example is Lebo from our rehab centers. Lebo was raised in a rural area from the age of a baby until the age of 6. Her parents left her there and moved to Johannesburg. The only time Lebo ever saw her parents was maybe on Easter and maybe in December for Christmas. And when she saw them, it was never the both of them, it was maybe one or the other. And then at the age of 6 years old, her parents decided to go on a holiday one day. And on their way to this location, they met in an accident. Fatal accident, and both of them passed away. Now up until this point, Lebo's parents were paying for her to be raised with these family members. And in her words, she said the moment that that money stopped, because her parents had passed, she became a Cinderella in the house. At that young age, her job was to clean and to take care of whatever necessities were needed in the house. And she said she felt like a charity case most of her life. From there, she was moved to an aunt's house in Soweto, where the same thing took place. She felt like she was an outsider. She had nobody. Whenever it came to birthdays or holidays, the family would take care of their own kids. She was left to fend for herself. And so she never felt like she belonged anywhere. And when she went to high school, to fit in, she mixed with the wrong crowd. The wrong crowd introduced her to drinking and smoking weed. She would go and visit these friends. They would come from school. And one day she went to visit somebody to go and smoke weed, which is what she thought, only to find out that she was actually smoking a mixture of heroin and weed. Fast forward a few years later, Lebo was no longer living with her family. When I met Lebo, we drove down one of the streets in Fitas one day, and she pointed down one of the roads and she told me, Jose, I used to sleep there in that road. Alhamdulillah, today, Lebo is now 3 years clean, and she's now doing a course at our learning center on basic computer literacy. But she now spends her life saving the lives of other people, healing the hearts of other people. What if Lebo was our daughter? What if Lebo was our sister? Would we have cared more for her? One final example. When we do the meal distributions, often we go and give food, and on many occasions we deal with very old people. And in this one particular week, we went specifically to an old age home. And as we go to the doors, one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of these elderly people are far happier about the fact that someone just came to knock on their door than they are about the meal that we brought them. Because they have nobody. They have no family that's there to take care of them. The children don't visit any longer. And whenever I think about it, I think about my own grandparents. I spoke to my grandfather on the phone a week ago, and he started crying on the phone because this year he can't fast. And every time we go and we do a meal distribution and I deal with these elderly people, I think about my grandparents and I can't be there. To us, these are just stories. But to the people in these stories, this is their reality. We left that village in Soweto. Where did those two little children go? Where did they sleep that night? Who was there to tuck them in? What do they have to eat today? These are the lives that you get to reach through your sacrifice. The lives that you change and the hearts that you touch. So in no way are your efforts ever wasted. In this world, you are impacting the lives of those who have no one to turn to. And in the next, your reward awaits you in the court of Allah, multiplying over and over again through His grace and mercy. So I plead to you, in this month, give what you can of your wealth and of your time. Give, because Allah is waiting to give us so much more. May Allah bless us endlessly in this month of Ramadan. May He forgive us for our sins. May He wipe our slate clean. May He strengthen our iman so that we can carry through our efforts in this month for the rest of the year. May He fill our hearts with love for one another. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.